My name is. Well, let's not get bogged down by details. By the time you read this, I'll be locked away. I've killed my cheating bitch of a wife. Now I know what you're thinking. By the sound of my last statement, I must be some kinda deranged lunatic. Mommy was a whore and Daddy was a raging drunk who staggered home every night and beat us senseless. A dysfunctional family is surely the breeding ground of psychopathy. Sorry to disappoint, but it couldn't be further from the truth. My folks weren't perfect, but I had a very happy childhood. My mother was a secretary and my father worked himself to death in a cubicle for 30-something years. I went to bed at 9 p.m. every night, nice and full of Mom's delicious meal nurturing my body to help me grow into the man I am today. I was never really afraid of the dark like the other kids. There were no monsters in my closet or under my bed. I guess that's because there was already a monster in my bed, fast asleep in his cowboy pajamas and clutching his teddy bear. I hope you're paying attention. You might learn something. The times make the man, not the other way around. By the time I was 17, I had already killed 7 men. I was drafted into the service that year and spent the next few years of my life jumping in and out foxholes. I saw 2 of my best friends die right beside me. There was an artillery barrage. We were all laying down with our heads in the dirt. The next thing I knew, everything was on fire and my friends were gone, just 1 month shy of when we were supposed to get home. My father always used to tell me, "You'll see, son, a little bit of hard work and a lot of sacrifices pay off in the end." I sacrificed a lot for my country, went partially deaf in one ear, lost my spleen, shattered my pancreas. What did it get me? Night terrors, flashbacks, paranoia, and a job in my podunk little town at a gas station. Who would have thought shooting an insurgent half a mile away from me with a rifle during high wind wasn't an applicable work skill? Go figure. It wasn't all bad. At least I had my high school sweetheart. We married as soon as I got back home, never got a chance to do it before. It was great, for about 6 months. It's hard to say where exactly it all went wrong. 1 minute we were happily married and couldn't get enough of each other, and the next we were vying for the front door. Our marriage counselor suggested taking a vacation together to try and restore the fire in our relationship, but I found myself praying for the plane just crash and end it all. Sad, isn't it? I would have rather just been killed than go home. The signs of an affair had been slowly starting to come together, but I chose to ignore them because I didn't want to believe she would ever cheat on me. One day, I came home early from work and she went out to the store and left her cell phone at home by mistake. It was very unlikely for her to do that. Usually, I would fight the urge to give in and snoop. I'm not sure how else to explain it, but to this day I swear it was like there was a voice inside of me telling me, "Pick up the phone." Her password was her birthday. How original. I scrolled through the phone and opened her messages. 15 new ones. What a very popular lady. And they were all from a number that I didn't know. I felt like I had been hit by a truck. Every emotion I had ever had spilled over at once: anger, sadness, hopelessness, confusion, embarrassment, betrayal, and rejection. From what I could read, the 2 of them talked for hours on end, about how much they loved each other and couldn't stand to be apart. They even ridiculed me for how naive I was for not catching on. It took every ounce of restraint I had to not smash the phone into pieces. What was I to do? She wasn't gonna get away with this. I heard her keys rattling as she came in through the front door. I quickly placed the phone back where she left it and slapped on the TV. I didn't want to let on that I knew, not just yet. "Hey honey," she said as she came in toting a paper bag full of food for the week. "How was work?" "It was fine," I answered as I was randomly surfing through channels. "Boring as usual." "Sometimes boring is a good thing, babe." Screw her, calling me babe like everything was fine and dandy. I began to wonder if she called the other guy babe, or honey, or had any little pet names for him. She was skimming the pockets on her blue jeans, looking for her cell phone. "Oh, you left your phone on the table over there," I pointed out, eager to see her reaction. Her face hardened with apprehension as she hustled over to the table and picked up her phone. "Oh, so that's where I left it." She tried to fake a smile as her voice quavered with angst. Your phone beeped a couple of times. I think you have some messages. Everything okay? Yeah. It was nothing. Everything is great. What a lying bitch. We talked a little bit during dinner, but I can't even begin to recall what about. Her food never tasted so disgusting. It was a meal built on deceit. My brain was telling me to bash her face in then and there, and I wanted to. That wasn't an option for me, though. I needed to know who the other guy was. There was no way he was getting a free pass. The next day at work I was exhausted and emotionally eviscerated. I barely got any sleep at night. I tried to get back into her phone, but the password was changed. The bitch suspected something. At about 10:30 p.m., a customer I had never seen before came in. I distinctly remember the time because he had somewhat startled me. This time of the night was slow and I always nodded off for a bit until my shift ended. He walked around for a little bit, grabbing miscellaneous items. I remember being annoyed because he was talking on his phone and wouldn't shut the hell up. It took him about 5 minutes to get everything he wanted, a few packs of bubblegum, some snacks, bullcrap like that. He was so engrossed in his conversation he probably thought he was all alone. He set his hand over his phone and turned his attention towards me. Can I get a lifestyle skin, please? He whispered, batting his eyes with eagerness. This had to be the most uncomfortable thing ever. I hated when people would come up and ask me for condoms. What you do on your own time is your own business. I don't want to hear about it. At least this guy wasn't some punk teenager though, trying to show off by asking for an extra large size. While he was trying to retrieve his wallet, he put his phone on the counter and turned on the speaker. Hey, listen. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to pick up some things. I couldn't have been more disinterested in watching this guy scream into his phone until I heard the voice on the other end. Well, hurry up. I've only got a couple of hours and I want to make the most of them. That voice, that was my wife on the phone. The conversation continued. Are you sure tonight is good? It couldn't be any more perfect. I've been thinking about this all week. Well then, prepare to have your mind blown. It's not my mind that I want to be blown. The passion and sensuality burning from her voice were enough to set the phone ablaze. What the hell? I couldn't remember the last time we even had sex, let alone even teased the idea of it. So, this was him. This was my enemy, the man that made me lose sleep. Those goddamn pale blue eyes, that conceited way he smiled, his slicked back hair. My face went from grim white to beet red in an instant. They ended their phone call and he slid some money towards me. Sorry about that, guy. Big plans tonight if you know what I mean. At that moment, something snapped inside of me. I always thought that was just a figure of speech, saying that someone snapped. There really is something to it though. All my time in the war, I knew I didn't come home the same as I was when I left, but my time in the service molded me into something else. I was a lean, mean, well-oiled machine, but now some screws had come loose, and it was time to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and that cheating fuck just bought the last of the bubblegum. Before I could even comprehend what was happening, I had him over the counter. He squirmed and fidgeted like a helpless baby. This was quite a new feeling for me, so much different from shooting a person some distance away. In the army, I never really got a good look at the people I killed. You just squeezed a trigger and down went the target. This was exhilarating. I have never felt so in control of another human being. This man was literally about to be erased from existence by my bare hands. As he faded into an eternal sleep, the monster inside of me was awakened, and he came out to play. Amidst the chaos, the gun we kept under the counter emerged from its hiding spot. In a last attempt to get me off him, the guy reached for it. I didn't initially plan on shooting him, but since the wonderful idea presented itself, I just couldn't resist. The gun went off twice. Where there was once the face of a man now lay a disturbing brew of blood and brains. I sat there for a minute to catch my breath, stewing in the mishmash. The calmer I got, I began to double-think my actions, but there was no turning back now. I locked up the gas station and tried to come up with my next move. Nobody saw him come in, and no one needed to see him on the security cameras either. I hurried to the back room. The surveillance setup was by no means state-of-the-art, it still recorded onto old VHS tapes. The only negative thing about those is, sometimes the tape gets eaten. I could make the footage for the whole day disappear and it would come off as nothing more than a sad coincidence. With the video proof of what happened taken care of, there was only the matter of disposing of the body and the car that he arrived in. Something clicked in my mind, the old logging road. In high school, a lot of the kids would go out there to fool around. That would be a perfect spot to dump the evidence, maybe just go a little bit further into the woods. I hid out in the gas station for a couple more hours until I was sure no one would be around. Finally, it was about an hour or so later when I decided that if I was going to move, it had to be now. My wife would eventually be home from her extracurricular activity and start to wonder where I was. I packed up the body in the trunk of the car he arrived in and headed out. I debated getting rid of the gun too, but decided to leave it behind. It was right where it was, like always, nothing out of place. Geez, this guy's old car had seen better days. A 92 Taurus. This was the most uncomfortable ride I had ever taken, stomach-churning anxiety excluded. At least a black box was out of the question. When I was sure I had gotten deep enough into the woods, I wiped the car down and tossed the keys as far away as I could. This guy's final resting place was the trunk, and that was the way it was gonna stay. Now began the journey home. I didn't think this part through too well. I arrived back home about 45 minutes later. My wife ambushed me with questions as soon as I made it through the door. It was like she just wanted to start a fight. She sat there alone in the dark for God knows how long, waiting for me to come home. Where the hell have you been? She howled at me, clearly holding back tears. She missed someone all right, but despite the words coming out of her mouth, it wasn't me. I rubbed my eyes and headed into the kitchen for a beer. My car broke down at work, I assured her. I'm sorry I'm late. You could have called me, you know. I would have come and got you. The conversation went back and forth for a couple of minutes. My cell phone died. I didn't even have to think about that one. Whatever question she could come up with, I seemed to be able to talk my way out of it. It didn't even feel like me. It felt like someone was guiding my hand, pulling my strings and providing the script for me. I just delivered the lines and threw in an ad-lib or two now and then. And what about the gas station? Why couldn't you just use their phone? She had to go there. Oh, son of a bitch. Enough already with the questions. A damn rat or raccoon or an animal of some sort chewed up the phone line. I kept warning everyone when we first found those droppings, but no one listened to me. As I took a moment to catch my breath, she wiped some tears away from her face and continued, I don't know what your problem is lately. I'm concerned about where you were, and you bite my head off for it? Oh yeah. Now I had some questions of my own. This was gonna be interesting. Where exactly were you tonight? I was nowhere. What are you going on about? Her vulnerability slowly disappeared and the walls I had become accustomed to were slowly going back up around her again. Then, where is dinner? Checkmate. I threw my hands into the air and motioned towards the obviously empty kitchen. You mean that you were sitting here all night by your lonesome worrying about me and you never even ate anything? Who did my wife think she was fooling? She was a habitual nervous eater and had been known to practically inhale a chicken from across the room. If she was so nervous about me, it wouldn't have knocked the edge off of her appetite. I got tired of waiting and went ahead without you. Yours is in the fridge. She said. I walked over to the fridge and opened it. That's funny. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you didn't pick up anything, and you work at a grocery store. I shut the door and walked back over to her and got right into her face. If I were you, I wouldn't quit your day job. Hun, you make a much better whore than a housewife. She slapped me square across the face. My neck felt like it was gonna twist off. Fuck off. Make a goddamn sandwich or something for all I care. Little did she know that I realized what was really going on. She was upset her lover boy bailed on her. Throughout the next few nights, it took every ounce of restraint I had to not kill her in her sleep. It would have been so easy to smother her with a pillow or take a kitchen knife and plunge it into her chest, but the more I thought about it, I liked this idea better. Why give her the easy way out? The one she truly loved was rotting away as if he never existed. I should send her to join him? Nah, she was gonna stay right here with me and wallow in her misery whether she liked it or not. 2 weeks went by and we hardly said a word to each other. I had relocated to the couch, by her choice, not mine. If sleeping next to her at night gave her that much displeasure, then I was going to enjoy every minute of it that I possibly could. I wanted to make her miserable for what she did to me. We began to fight over every little thing. A comment over just about anything could set either one of us off. That brings us to today. I was working the night shift. It was the dead hour as usual, so I was taking my much-deserved siesta. Not everyone was built to sleep on a couch, so my naps were becoming more frequent. Suddenly, I was rattled awake. Hello there, hey buddy, are you okay? I just want to check out really quick. I sprang back to life. I banged a few keys on the register as if I was never sleeping. Oh yeah, hey there, sorry about that. What can I do for? I couldn't believe who I was looking at. My heart could have come crashing through my chest. Looking at me dead in the eyes was my wife's lover. What the hell? I started to go into hysterics. Hey, hold on there, guy. He put his hand over my shoulder. Take it easy, I'm sorry I scared you. I just want to buy a couple of things. How could this be happening? I blew his face clean off and left him in the woods. Here he was before me though, and without a scratch on him. I thought maybe it was a dream or hallucination, but then I never started to wake up. This was all too real. His phone began to ring. He put it on speaker just like last time. Hello? Where the hell have you been? What's taking you so long? Much to my surprise, though I'm sure if you're reading this, you may have caught on by now, that was indeed my wife's voice on the other end of the phone again. Sorry, I'm going as fast as I can. He said. We don't have much time. I have to see you now. You're over at the Valley Motel, right? Yeah. That's where we were supposed to meet last time. All right, I'm just stopping for some gas and I'll be right. Listen to me, don't go to the gas station. I want you to just come straight here. He seemed awfully confused. But. Just do it. I'm afraid to be anywhere alone. I think he knows something. All right, fine. He hung up his phone and quickly paid for his items. He almost bought all the same things he got that night, almost. No condoms this time, man? Huh? He glanced at me. Sounds like you got a big night ahead of you with your lady friend. I explained. He didn't seem too pleased by that. Just mind your business, guy, and go back to sleep. I gotta go. My wife was my business. If putting him in the ground didn't stop this torrid love affair, I guess I was gonna have to put her in the ground after all. Now, I knew where they were going to be. Time to catch them in the act. I borrowed the gun from under the counter one last time, knowing full well this was going to be the last time I needed it. I made it to the Valley Motel faster than the other guy did. I would have thought he would have known his way there better by now from his previous rendezvous with my wife. Sitting in my car, I loaded the gun and watched from afar as I surveyed what room he entered. I clutched the gun in my hand. The cold hard steel matched my heart, that was now beating for one reason only, justice. I went over to the door and fired the gun. 2 shots rang out into the night. With the heel of my right boot, the door to the room came crashing down. The surprise alone should have given them both heart attacks. What the fuck? The guy shouted. When I entered the room, he and my wife were sitting on the bed. I got in there before they could get started. What the hell are you doing here? My wife shouted at me. You're crazy, you know that? Her lover took a good look at me. You're the guy from the... My wife began to scream over him. I told you just come straight here. Now look what you did. He's found us. Who is this lunatic anyway? He asked. All this time together and she didn't even talk about me or anything. I figured now was as good of a time as any to get acquainted. Well, buddy, that lovely lady right there would be my wife. And I'm the loving husband that you just fucked over. Whoa, listen here, buddy. I think there's been some sort of misunderstanding. He started to reach into his pocket. I wasn't taking any chances. The gun roared to life once more. Blood sprang out from his chest and he started violently choking. I looked down to see him clutching his cell phone in his hand. I guess he didn't have a weapon on him after all. Honey, please. My wife sobbed as she sprang off the bed. She gently embraced me, trying to get me to lower the gun. You're upset right now. I know what I did was wrong, okay? But please just put the gun down. You're confused right now and I don't think you understand what's going on. The gun started trembling in my hand. I knew what I had to do, but at that moment I felt myself struggling to do it. Bang! The gun went off one final time. Goodbye, my sweet. Her body went limp and she collapsed into my arms. It's funny how life works. I wanted nothing more than to see her suffer, and now that she was gone, I was going to miss her. I tossed the gun to the floor and gently laid her down on the bed. I turned to walk away when I tripped over her lover's body. What a way to go, shot for pulling out a cell phone. It looked enough like a gun. I could always plead self-defense. I began to wonder what exactly it was that he wanted me to see on the phone. I picked it up and turned on the screen. A series of text messages presented itself, wanting to be seen. Whoever was on the receiving end of these texts wasn't very talkative. I read them to myself. Hey bro, you there? Asshole, pick up the phone. Are you there, man? This isn't like you. Okay, I finally tracked her down. I know you're private, but I am coming out to meet that new chick you've been seeing. If you're not gonna talk, maybe she will. I hope you're alright. Mom and Dad are gonna kill you if this is some sort of stunt that you're pulling.